Hey everyone, it's Kelly. Thanks for joining me. I am back today with a new 12 by 12 scrapbook process video for the Cut Shop. And today I am going to be using the Picture Perfect cut file. And I'm going to be using the image in the upper right hand corner. I actually cut it 8 times. I cut 4 frames from that pattern paper, which is from an older Amy Tangerine collection. And then that yellow paper there, that's actually a pattern paper. It has a very slight pattern design on it. But I end up deciding not to use the yellow paper because I wanted to add some mixed media to the background. So now what I'm doing is I am just using my T-square ruler to mark the center of that 12 by 12 white cardstock because I do want to create a grid design on that white cardstock, and I just want to make sure that I have my frames evenly spaced from each other. Now I wasn't sure what type of medium I wanted to use for the mixed media, so I grabbed a couple things. I grabbed these Prima oil pastels from my stash, and then I also grabbed some watercolors. And I'm trying them out on this scrap piece of white cardstock, and there's actually gesso already applied and dried on this scrap piece of cardstock because I wanted to see how the oil pastels were going to mix and blend, and then also see how the watercolors would mix and blend also, just so I would have a good idea of how those things would react when I actually get ready to apply them to my background. So off camera, I did apply a layer of clear gesso to my white cardstock background, and I decided to go with the Prima watercolors. I can't remember if I mentioned that before, but I just want to apply a little bit of the watercolor in the corner of the frames. So I did use a pencil to make a light line on that white cardstock, just so I knew where the frames were going to be positioned, so I knew where to apply the color. So my plan at this point was to back one of the frames with my photo and then leave the other 3 frames open, and I was going to fill those with embellishments. And speaking of the embellishments that I'm going to be using, a lot of this product came from my stash, and it's been in my stash for quite some time, so it's no longer in the original packaging. So I'm not going to be able to tell you the manufacturer for the products that I use today on this layout. I went through numerous phases in my scrapbooking on how I organize my products, how I use my products, and the products that I use on this layout, they're actually all stored in small iris containers because I did go through this phase where I organized everything by color. So all of the die cut packs and everything that I had, I opened them all up and I just put them in these small iris containers based on what color they were and not necessarily what manufacturer or what product line they were from. And that did not work very well for me. I was able to use them, but I wasn't using them very often because I wasn't grabbing from them, because I have found that I am very much a manufacturer driven scrapbooker. I tend to grab a certain manufacturer and use that product line. So not necessarily just a collection within itself, but for instance, if it's a Paige Evans collection, I will mix and match her previous collections in with the new collection because I feel like a lot of the designers have a certain style, and a lot of times their styles will translate onto the new collections that they release. So when I'm scrapbooking, if I'm using a Paige Evans collection, I will grab everything that I have that's Paige Evans and just mix and match the products from the different collections. Well, what happened here with this layout is I ended up going back through those iris containers and I tried to pull out the products that I knew that were from a certain manufacturer. So for instance, I tried to go through those iris containers that were organized by color and tried to pull out all of the products that I thought maybe Amy Tangerine, and that's what I'm using here. So I have an iris container full of products that remind me of Amy Tangerine lines. I don't know if they're necessarily from Amy Tangerine, but they have the same characteristics and the same style that she uses when she creates her collections. So I think that a lot of the products I use are from Amy Tangerine, but there may be a little bit of Dear Lizzie and some other products mixed in this layout. And I know there are a lot of scrapbookers out there that like to organize their products based off of color, but it just did not flow well for me. I just really was struggling, and I found myself not even looking into those iris containers. They were just sitting in the box and never getting used because that wasn't what my scrapbooking flow and groove was. I really like to work based off of manufacturers. So by reorganizing those iris containers and trying to pull them out and regroup them according to the manufacturer, I have found that I am using them a little bit more often. I have just started grouping those iris containers with my other embellishments that I keep on my Rascog cart. Okay, so I have said very little about what I'm actually doing on my layout. I did add my title. It is the backwards shirt, and this photo is a school photo of Aiden. I'm sure you can tell by looking at it. And the story behind the photo is I was home this day, picture day at school, and I got Aiden ready for school and gave him breakfast and, got him all ready and sent him off to school. And when he came home, we were talking and I looked at him and I said, "Is your shirt on backwards?" And he looked at it and he goes, "Oh yeah, it is." And I said, "Has it been like that all day?" And sure enough, it had, and it was picture day. So his photo that was taken for second grade has his shirt on backwards. And thankfully it was a solid color and did not have a design on it. Otherwise it would have been a little bit more noticeable, but we both laughed when we found out and figured out that his shirt was on backwards for picture day. So I don't normally scrapbook school photos, but because this one had a story behind it, I decided to go ahead and scrapbook it. I did add the journaling using my We Are Memory Keepers typecast typewriter, and I added it inside that lower right hand frame. The stickers that I used for the title, those are from Close to My Heart. They had a Smashbook line. It wasn't called Smashbook, but it was similar to a Smashbook. And they had embellishment packs that you could buy to go along with those albums. And the stickers that I used for the title, those were actually included in one of those little packs. Some of the embellishments that I'm using, I know I mentioned that I had went through my iris containers for those, but some of these are actually school themed embellishments from just different manufacturers that I picked up throughout the years, and I keep all of the school themed embellishments all grouped together. So I did go through that stash and pulled some of those things out to use. I am going to add a flare button right next to the picture on the upper left hand side, and that flare button is from Feed Your Craft. I also decided that I needed to fill in a few of the blank spaces, so I grabbed those silver puffy hearts from Freckled Fawn, and I am going to add a few of those onto the layout just to create a visual triangle. This is a ruler sticker, and that is from an Amy Tangerine collection because it is from a sticker sheet, so I do know that. And let me know in the comments below how you like to organize your die cuts and your embellishments. Are you someone that likes to organize based off color or manufacturer or designer? I always find it interesting how we all do things just a little bit different from each other, but we all enjoy this hobby so much. And that's the great thing about it, is there is no right or wrong. So as you can see, I am bringing up the still shots, so this layout is finished. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments below about the cut files or any of the techniques I used. I'm always happy to answer any questions. I do want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will be back again soon with a new layout and process video.